Mr. Forge, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Very well. Very well. We're in Calgary tonight.
Yes, that's right. I actually saw you guys last night in Edmonton, and you guys absolutely destroyed Edmonton last night. And that was actually my first time ever being exposed to your art live. So it was really a great experience for me.
Oh, cool. That's that's cool. Well, thank you. Thank you. Oh, it was fun. It was a fun night, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys have been pretty much nonstop on the road. I mean, for quite some time. Um, just talk to me, I guess, about this tour and sort of what this run has been like to you in comparison to other runs in the past.
Well, I mean, I'd say that this tour cycle, album cycle, has been very smooth. Um, from at least from a band point of view, it's been very sort of uh, harmonic, which is very nice. I mean, over all the years before, we've always had people coming and going and quitting and being fired, and it was always a little bit of a you know uh, there was always like a bit of a traffic going in and out of the band, which was a little nerving because you not only you had to sort of all of a sudden you had a new person in the band, and it might be really good or maybe not so good, and you didn't have the time to sort of like find pick the right person for the job always, or you got someone in that were just there for a temporary, like a little one tour basis or something, and it was that was like that led to an inconsistency that I didn't find very entertaining. Whereas this tour, we've had the same band now for a few years, which is really great, and that leads also to a consistency. And right about now, when this band has done, um, I don't know exactly how many shows we've done, but it's in the hundreds. You could really tell that we've gelled, and that's a very nice feeling because that's not something that just comes overnight. It takes time, and it's kind of like a hockey team or whatever. You just need to know your positions. You need to know the what people are doing, and it takes some time to get a groove. I think that we have that groove. The biggest step on this tour cycle, especially for me as a sort of an initiator and overlooker of things with the goal and the plan, and especially on this tour, which I'm immensely proud of is the fact that we're able to bring the same production to anywhere or everywhere we're playing. We're giving everyone an equally good show. I'm talking about the production values. It's we're bringing our stage, we're bringing our lights, we're bringing the bombs, we're bringing the fire, we're bringing the fog, we're bringing the confetti, everything.
Yeah.
And up until this tour, that has been quite inconsistent because of the loss of gravity. It's very hard to do that. We enjoyed several years in the sort of the theater circuit, and which is great. I love theaters. Don't get me wrong. I really
Hmm.
love theaters. But there are a few backsides, there are a few things when you're playing theaters that are not ideal. Um,
Such as?
one, you have seats. One, you have seats, and seats in front of the stage gravely disrupts the energy of the show.
Hmm.
Secondly, because of many of the theaters being old, historic, graded, this, that, and the other, you cannot have fire, you cannot have pyro, you cannot do this, that, and the other, and you're just limitations. And some nights you also, you bump into a theater who has like a standing show there, even though the stage is great, like big and all that, but they might have a musical going. So behind the curtains, there's full of theater sets. So even though there is essentially like a big stage, it's still what you don't see is a lot of stuff being covered.
Right.
And so it is a little bit rocky, and at the end of the day, you end up being on the expense of the crowd, because the tickets are essentially the same everywhere, and tickets are expensive. People come there expecting to see whatever they heard about or whatever they saw on YouTube. And if what they saw was on YouTube was filmed in New York, they might have seen all the bells and whistles, and then all of a sudden, when there was supposed to be a bomb or when there was supposed to be a confetti rain or whatever, it just doesn't happen. And that has been very annoying for me. I'm very, I'm thriving for consistency. I'm a control freak. I want it to be the same for everyone, regardless if you live in fucking, Pullman or Portland. You should get the same thing. You're paying the same money. So
right, you're paying for that ghost experience.
Yeah, and that I'm very happy about. Just coming back to Edmonton, I mean, we haven't been to Edmonton in 5 years, and last time we played in Edmonton, and the time before, was definitely very limited. Let's put it that way.
Right, due to what you were describing.
And I'm sorry, what?
Due to what you were describing, right, about the theater shows?
Yeah, I don't think we even played a theater back then. We played like some sort of scrubby venue. I don't remember, right off the top of my head, I don't remember the name of the venue that we played 5-6 years ago. Right. I just remember that it was gravely decimated. Production-wise. Even the production that we had back then was like cut in you got a third of what we usually did. And that's annoying, especially when you hit a city like that, irregularly. Because unfortunately, as you probably know, in Edmonton, you're far away, and it's hard to get to come back as frequent as we would Tennessee, for example, or Arizona or whatever, California, of course. And you want to bring the best. You want to do what we do well, So I was very happy yesterday that, fuck, man, we came back after 5 years. And, we can proudly say that, people showed up, and those who showed up got the full Monty.
Yeah, 100%. And I greatly appreciate, as an audience member, that you care about delivering that consistency from city to city, no matter how big or how small. You sort of mentioned a little while back here in the conversation that there was a lot of traffic in the band, and that's sort of well known, I guess, in ghost history throughout the years in the beginning and middle. I'm curious, does the anonymity of the band, did that make it any easier for that? And do you think that maybe you were picking it up more than potentially audience members, or do you think that audience members were picking up the same things as you in terms of inconsistencies?
Yes and no. I think that the overall audience don't care. They don't know. For the same reason that I mean, even in an unanonymous band, they wouldn't care too much. I mean, I dare even to say that all the hundreds of thousands of people that go to see Bruce Springsteen, even though his band is not anonymous, I think that if he shows up on the poster himself, just Bruce Springsteen, that's 100% fine. If it says the E Street Band, that's also 100% fine. If someone in the E Street Band is missing, I don't think that people notice unless it's like Steven Sant. like generally, because
Right.
people. Now I'm talking about 100% of the 75,000 people that show up for the show, and I think it's the same thing for us. It's like if we have 1,000 people or 2,000 people or 3,000 people showing up, I don't think that all of those thousands of people know. They don't. I don't think they even know my name, because they're there to be entertained. It's the entertainment of the week or the month or the day, and many of them might not even have heard all our songs. They might have heard Squarehammer and Dance Macabre and whatever songs are on the radio. That's fine. And then you have like a smaller portion of the crowd being knowing everything or thinking that they know everything and have so within brackets always. The turning table around, I would say that the anonymity or the masked situation has to an extent made changing members, changing musicians easier. But, as I said before, getting new people in the band is not easy. It's not easy to again, I draw the parallel to sports, because you can have a star of one team, and you'd think that, oh, that person, will, if we just buy the big scorer of that team, he or she will come into our team and do equally amount of goals. And you might have disregarded the fact that maybe it was the chain that he or she was part of that sort of created that, and that he or she always needed that backup in order to be given all those opportunities to do those goals. So, especially when you don't have time, that was something that was very irritating in the first 6 years of the band, that a lot of those changes happened mid-tour. Like all of a sudden, someone sort of just yanked out, like in between tours, and we had 2 weeks to find someone. And of course, I mean, that what did it lead to? That led to, recruitment being based more on proximity rather than ability sometimes. And that was annoying, because then all of a sudden, 3 weeks into a tour, you sort of notice that this is not working out. This is not work. This is not good. And then you sort of had to ride it out for 8 months, and then you had to fix it when you got home or whatever. And on the other hand, I think that the anonymity and the masked premise is not always stroking cats the right way, because most people, myself included, put a guitar on my body originally because I wanted to have, not only because I love playing, but it was also partially because you wanted to be seen. And that has definitely been a problem over the years. It's a problem that people have a tendency to feel uncomfortable with the idea of not getting recognition, basically because people want to be seen. And that is sometimes the problem. Whereas some people I've had in the band and now have in the band are perfectly fine with that. They love the idea of being able to go up on a stage, play like, as if you were a big rock star, and then be able to sort of hang that on a coat hanger, and then afterwards you don't have to deal with the idea of being sort of recognized. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So some people even prefer that.
Some people prefer that, yeah, and some don't, and sometimes that is a problem.
Wow, that's very interesting, and it is interesting also reading back on a lot of articles and things like that. Do you feel like there's a misunderstanding towards how you feel about that? Because there sort of seems to be in some pockets of the media almost a false narrative that you're looking for some sort of recognition above the rest of the band. But from speaking with you just now, I don't get a sense of that at all. You're here saying, you say that some of the audience members may not even know your name, and you're fine with that. So do you feel that you're sort of misunderstood in some ways by pockets of the media in that regard?
Um, it depends on which angle. If anyone wants to make me sound like I'm asking for recognition, that is, I would say that is untrue. If if someone would claim that I would have mantled a position above the others, that would be perfectly natural because I started this band in 2006,
Mm-hmm.
and fucking no one that has ever been in the band, except for one person that was in the band for the 5 first shows, was ever there with me. I started this band. I've taken all the risks and fucking owned the thing. I've paid everyone that was ever in the band to be here. So I am the only one responsible for having moved this whole operation along. That doesn't take any, effort away from anyone else. But just because you were in the band for a couple months, I won't let you fucking represent the band into media. I think there's one thing of me not raising my hand every time there's a media opportunity wanting to show my face. I don't do that.
Yeah.
But, if anyone that has been in the band for half a year or a year and just done shows and never contributed or never paid a check or never, taken any responsibility, it's such a joke talking about it because it's there's definitely been a few fabrications, but it's just, you just ride that out with time. It sorts itself, and I don't mind that much, at least, because it's time proves those things, and my job is not to go into polemics about that. My job is to be out here touring and entertaining people and making new records the same way that I've always made records, and that's the only thing. And with time, we'll see who's the boss, right?
Right. Exactly. And no, it is all about the music, and it's true. A lot of people don't understand. It's just like, any corporation. There's always a CEO, and that's just the way that it is. And that is how a good operation should work. So I completely agree with you there. This is a question from a fan named Todd. He says, "Is there any chance of a live Blu-ray or DVD coming in the future?"
There is, but I can't really say as to when that would be. That's been in the works for years. But there's every time that we've been sort of zoning in on an opportunity to tape anything, for lack of a better word, file anything. There's been some sort of salt in the machinery or something that sort of disabled that. Partially because I'm a perfectionist. I really want the show to be 100%. And when it comes to making such a film or such a caption, it is of great assistance if you're playing a venue maybe 2 days in a row, just so you have footage enough to sort of cover. Otherwise, you're betting all your money on one horse, and that can be a little risky, because what if you have a tuning issue? What if you have something might not work well? Maybe the pyro went off wrong, or there might be a lot of things that sort of you want to have a little bit of options and material to choose from. And secondly, a lot of the shows, when you record a show, you want to do it in front of a Friday night crowd that are just the right inebriation,
Right.
because you want them to be, as avid as possible. And geographically, that sort of rules out a few shows, because most crowds are great, but they might not be very interactive.
Yeah.
And that's why there is bands have a tendency to record and shoot shows in Latin America, and because you get that sort of absolutely rampage of a crowd that you want, so it takes a few stars to align in order to do such a thing. And I have not, as so far, felt that we've had that opportunity. But now we're closer than ever, just because from a production standpoint, doing a consecutive tour like this, where we do the same production every night, with the same stage and the same light rig and everything is sort of practiced, that definitely enables that to happen, because that means you get practice. Whereas, I would never do a DVD recording of playing a festival, for example, because playing festivals are always such strains. It's so last minute. It's so based on whomever was on the stage before you, and what if there's a thunderstorm? What if there's so many potential fuck-ups. It's endless. So you don't want to have that. Whereas on an arena tour like this, you definitely have a consistency, and 10 shows into the tour, all the crew knows exactly what to do, where to go, how to build it, how to dismantle it, and there's just a fluency that really aids not only the show, but definitely if you want to extend into making a DVD or something like that. So that was a long answer. Short answer is yes, we're thinking about it. Yes.
Wow. Well, it sounds like the fans are really in for a treat. I'm sure they're very excited about that, as am I. I thank you so much for your time today. Really quick before you go, I just have this message that was sent in by a listener of mine named Candy Burton. And she just wanted to thank you. She says, I want to thank you for taking a risk and putting your music out there. It has saved me through my depression and many other low points in my life. Before I discovered Ghost, I felt like my life was always in shambles, but in the past few years, I found it a safe and comforting place for me to be and think straight. And she continues, but I just wanted to pass that along to you. And I wanted to thank you as well for not only taking the time today, but for putting so much hard effort into your vision and taking it so seriously. It's greatly appreciated.
Well, thank you very much, and that was a beautiful letter. Thank you for that. I'm always very, very happy to hear that. We unfortunately, a lot of our fans are sad and have gone through depressions and being suicidal and all that, and it's always sad to hear that they are, but I'm always very happy to hear that they've managed to break out of that. That's very warming to hear. So, thank you for sharing that.
100%. Thank you so much, Mr. Forge, and best of luck on the rest of the tour. We know it's going to be fantastic, and safe travels.
Thank you. Have a nice day.